And we really, as a board and as a division, believe strongly that this opportunity will bring a benefit to our students at the tri-school site. The board also really believes strongly that schools are part of the community. We're not a standalone thing kind of over in this field doing our own kind of thing. We are part of the community, and we want to be a good community member. And so when conversations started about this a couple years back, and the potential for this donation and the potential for this project, we felt really strongly that there needed to be a community consultation, some form of community consultation. We wanted to share information, we wanted to collect feedback, we wanted to get input into the design of this, as we feel this is very important to that notion of being a good member. We also know as a board that we can't do this by ourselves. We rely very heavily on collaboration with our community and partnerships as a way to work together to create and to enhance learning opportunities for our students. And this project is no different than that. We want to make sure that it serves the needs of our students, but also, and just as important, bring benefit to the neighborhood, to the community of Cochrane, and all of the people in that community. So not just students, adults, younger kids, and we want it to be a great benefit. So this is kind of really where we're at now, is that we have a great team, society, who have partnered with us and are working, trying to get this project going and together. And so this is kind of where we're at with the community engagement. We want as a division for this space to reflect the school, to reflect the students and the neighborhood and the community. And so I really want to just thank everybody for their participation in this process here tonight, for the feedback that you've probably already provided since the last engagement. I know there's going to be some conversation tonight around that. So on behalf of the board, thank you for participating in the conversation and providing your input and feedback, because that's really what we want to hear. As I say, we want to be a good neighbor and work on this together. So Tommy, I appreciate the opportunity to share a few words. I unfortunately can only stick around for a few minutes, as I have to zoom on over to Elizabeth Barrett actually for another meeting heading on there. But thank you for that opportunity, and again, I look forward to hearing the feedback from the community. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Fiona. Appreciate those words. Yeah. Okay, so getting started with our presentation, we want to again thank you for taking the time to be with us here today. And thank you to those of you that have reached out to us, whether it's via email or through our website. We really appreciate you guys taking the time to provide that feedback. And yeah, we appreciate your voice. Yeah, so just a few things. I'm going to jump to this. So before we begin our Zoom protocol, we please ask that you guys have your microphones muted. That helps us with our audio on this end. We also ask that if you're participating, that you have your camera on. And if you would like to submit questions and comments, that can be submitted through the chat function. We will have a question and comment period at the end of the presentation that messages will be received directly to me, and we hope to get through all of those. Our agenda for this evening, we again wish to welcome everyone. Thank you, community members, for joining us today. We want to go over our community feedback that we have been receiving. We want to go over the benefits of our project. We want to go over our current design, and then we will enter our question period. Quickly introducing our team. Again, I am joined by Tracy Lyons. Tracy Lyons, our project lead. She's an educator for 30+ years. She's a volunteer community coach, Cochrane resident for many years. She is a mother and grandmother. She is a strong believer in public education, and she is a CHS administrator. We are also joined by Leslie Ann Kalman. She is a chartered accountant. She is our association treasurer. She has extensive experience with nonprofits, consultation for municipal governments, and strategic planning. She has overseen the successful renovation and operation of an ice arena for over a decade. We're also very fortunate to be joined by Esther Sieben. Esther Sieben is the physical literacy lead here at Cochrane High School. She has extensive involvement as a community coach and a physical literacy specialist. She's been a 20-year educator here at Cochrane High School. She is a Rocky View County resident, level 3 NCCP track and field coach. She is the mother of 2 daughters that continually embolden her to be better. Now, one of the things that we want to talk about, just sort of the balance of interaction of the factors that are influencing our project. So the first one is Rocky View Schools. Rocky View Schools owns the land that this proposed facility will be built on. And Rocky View Schools has a student focus. We also have our alumni donor who is providing the financial support, which is crucial to getting this project off the ground. That alumni donor has the expectation that this is an athletic facility that includes a field, lights, and bleachers. Our alumni donor has also stated that he expects this project is completed by September 2022. We also have the community, which is our benefactors. After our last meeting with you guys, we have been receiving lots of supportive emails and lots of concern emails. Our last community feedback presentation, we had over 50 people in attendance. We collected survey data and we have also had lots of responses through our website and through direct contact through emails to myself and other committee members. We have highlighted the largest concerns from the community members. Those concerns, which seem to be common among individuals in the community that are concerned about this, would be traffic, noise, parking, and lighting. Those seem to be the sort of common threads. So we are hoping to spend a little bit of time right now going over these points. So first off, lots of individuals were concerned with traffic. If we have a facility that is, a large facility, we're going to be bringing in lots and lots of pressure up onto this hill community. So one of the first things that we did is we met with the mayor of town of Cochrane, and we basically discussed and received a plan of what the proposed traffic changes are for the 1A as well as the road up to the hill. After that meeting, we have been informed that basically there's going to be no traffic lights that will impede traffic from the bottom of the hill to the top of the hill, as well as leaving. We are also expecting additional turning lanes off of the 1A. With both of these additions, we're hoping to see a massive improvement in the amount of traffic that's up here on the hill. We, as I've been a teacher here for a few years, and I grew up in this community, I completely understand how crazy traffic can get, especially at dismissal and early in the day. It gets busy. Hopefully these traffic adjustments on the 1A improve that situation so that we don't have a problem with that anymore. We will later on talk about where our design is at, but basically our design, we are no longer going to be capable of hosting large events of our current design. So we're hoping that that reduces the amount of traffic and the amount of traffic pressure that will be felt here within the Cochrane Heights community. Moving on to noise, I'm going to introduce Tracy Lyons, who's going to address concerns.
Perfect, thank you. So regarding noise and the concerns that we heard from our residents, we can break that down actually into 2 areas. One is obviously the sound noise, and the second, of course, would be the light noise that are concerns with some of the residents living close by the field. I'm going to be leaving the light noise up to our expert in residence, which is Jack Vanstone, and he will speak to that in a bit. With regards to the sound noise, really, this field is still a field that's going to be used. It's the same as it currently is, used by Elizabeth Barrett students, Manitowoc students, as well as Cochrane High School students. It still is going to be used for the very similar activities that it's currently being used for. So different games, athletic games, football, soccer, ultimate frisbee, rugby, lacrosse, anything that we currently do already. And we have to, of course, we're governed by the town of Cochrane and the bylaws that are enforced there. So certainly we're not going to be infringing on any of those, on any of those bylaws. And as Fiona mentioned earlier, we just want to be good neighbors. We don't want to cause anyone undue stress or anything like that. So when we're looking at this project, we're hoping and knowing that it's just going to be the same thing, but better with the field. Other than that, that's it for the noise that we have looked into.
Thank you very much. We are now going to move over to parking, which is going to be discussed by Leslie Ann Kelland.
We need to put that picture up, Cochrane High.
If we can switch from the Zoom view to the presentation view, that would be excellent.
Yeah, okay. So on your screen, you should see a Google Earth picture of the tri-school area. And if you, right in the very middle of it, you'll see a big brown spot. And that's actually the parking area for the school buses and for Cochrane Arena. Rocky View School Division is allowing us to use the school bus area, which will be vacant on non-school times for any extra traffic that'll come to the field or the facility once the facility is built. So combined in that area, there are 350 parking spots. As well, because it'll be non-school time, Cochrane High School has over 100 empty spots as well, which we'll be able to use. So parking in of itself will not be a problem with all this excess parking. So back to you, Tommy.
Thank you. I would also just add any sort of games that we are hoping at hosting would typically fall outside of school hours, which would mean that we have the bus lanes available as well for parking. Thank you very much, Leslie Ann. I'm very excited to introduce Jack Vanstone, who is a landscape architect with Knack Design, and he is someone that we have been consulting closely with over the past few months. And he has experience with projects in the area, and he is going to address concerns over lighting. So Jack, we would welcome you to go ahead and please address any concerns over lighting.
Yes, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot to everybody. We've worked on a number of projects, from the Legacy Field in Cochrane, Edge School for Athletes, across Calgary, Alberta, and even up to and including Tim Hortons Field where the Hamilton Ticats play. So lighting is, trying to get lighting for sport and prevent lighting getting on the neighbors is always a concern when we're developing items inside of a community like this. The light product that we have selected is a shielded light. I'm not sure if there's a plan that shows sort of the light photometrics, but the lighting company that we've selected, their name's Moscow, and they've got they want to make sure two things. One is that there is sufficient light on the field for the caliber and quality of play, which we've achieved, and secondly, that there's not spill beyond. These lights actually have a very precise shield on them that puts the light where you need it and not where it doesn't. And they've got a photometric plan that shows that. So there's the only spill that affects a residential area is onto Chiniki Drive at somewhere around 10 lux. I'll be technical for a second, but around 10 lux. Streets are lit to somewhere 35 or above. I'm not exactly sure which what this street would be lit to, but generally speaking, the street lighting is already providing north of 3 times the amount of lighting that will hit the street. We don't think there's any impact directly to the neighboring zones, and we've got some figures and some engineering data that can show that as well. A couple other things we like about this system is that it's controllable through an app. So as the school or the committee is looking at when of coaches, if practice ends early or whatever the case may be, simply shut them off. So lots of administrative controls and lots of engineering controls, I guess, to keep light where it's supposed to be, put it on the field and nowhere else. So if there's any questions, happy to talk lighting and grass all night.
Jack, let me just add, you broke up a little bit here on our end. So just touching back on how that app works, users will have the ability to turn off the lights almost instantly as soon as practices or games are finished. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's an infinite amount of control to it, but you know, if a team's time ends at 7 o'clock in October, then you know the lights can be scheduled to go off at 7:20 or whatever the administrators decide. Can be controlled, and if it's left on, if there's a community concern, then anyone can anybody with access to that app can simply just log in and shut it off.
Awesome. Thank you very much. If there's any questions for Jack, I ask that you guys hang on to those until the very end. Jack, we thank you for being with us here tonight. We're going to move on now. Again, we always like to discuss the benefits of this project. I continuously feel that this is an incredible opportunity, not only for the schools in this area, but for this community. So I am excited to introduce Esther Sieben, who is going to touch on some of the benefits of our project. Esther.
Well, hi there. The benefits of an artificial turf field and a track, other than the obvious physical literacy benefits of getting out there and moving, the surfaces are actually safer for students and athletes as less injuries happen and it's more even ground. There are more hours per day. You don't have to worry about field recovery time. Usable and safe in almost any type of weather. Can be used for more months out of the year as well as the school year. Immediately usable after such inclement weather such as rainstorms and snow melts. No downtime or extra costs for resodding, reapplying of chalk lines, watering or mowing. No harmful chemicals such as pesticides or herbicides. It is actually made from recycled rubber and plastic, both surfaces. Its state-of-the-art lighting system will allow and enable activities such as games and practices to safely happen in the fall without creating light noise. There's no grass stains on clothing, and it looks great all the time. And so those are some of the benefits of our surfaces that we are trying to put in the Cochrane Tri-School site. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Esther. Appreciate that. So let's talk about our design. Please understand that this is something that is continuously changing based on availability of fundraising, as well as just as we get further into the process, we learn more. So we had a physical survey conducted, and the results were that a 6 and an 8 lane track will not fit in this field. While we were hopeful for a 4x400 meter track, this has become unrealistic due to fundraising efforts. So what does this mean? This means that we will not be able to host large events. We will not be able to host large track and field games. We just simply won't have a facility that is capable of that. When it comes back to meeting some of the community concerns, what this means is we are not expecting huge inflows of traffic, of people, of noise due to our facility not being a 8 lane track. So we are currently, we have 3 designs that we are currently considering right now. So the first option is just a football field, which is in the $2.5 million price range. The second option that we are considering is a field plus a 4x137 meter training lane. And the last option that we are considering is a field plus an 8x137 meter training lane. The 4 lane training track would be an additional $400,000. And the 8-lane facility would be an additional 200 on top of that. So we are, these are our 3 designs that we currently have. In our last community engagement meeting, we spoke about how our design has changed based on the economic climate and based on the needs of the community and based on the input of our donor as well as Rocky View schools. We want to be upfront with you community members on our design. We are not, with these designs, we are not expecting a massive change in what we are capable of hosting. We are currently able to host any sort of football, soccer, rugby, anything like that. We can currently host that, and there's not a massive increase of traffic here. These are the 3 designs that we are moving forward with. And again, this is primarily based on what we're able to do for fundraising. We are confident that we can get a field built. We are hoping for additional funding to get a 4 by 137 meter training lane. And if we have enough funding, we will have a 8 by 137 meter training facility. We're hoping this is used not only by our track and field athletes, but also by our sports performance classes, our physical education classes, and anything else that would do running on a track facility. Moving on, I would like to direct some attention to our website. I'm not sure if I can switch my screen to the website, but we have a timeline available. No, okay. We have a timeline available on our website. If you have additional questions, you want to see previous presentations, you can find this information on our website, which is cochranefieldandtrack.ca. There's also a chance where if you have additional questions or comments after this presentation for you to submit a link. This is where we want basically any of the comments, questions, or concerns. We're hoping to address these through the website. And again, if you would like to get in touch with us, the best way is through that website. Excellent. Again, that is cochranefieldandtrack.ca. If you're hoping to stay in the loop or interested in joining the society, or if you have additional questions or concerns after today's meeting, or you would like to go back and view presentations, please go to our website. Excellent. We are going to now open it up to community questions. So again, I am hoping those questions are appearing in the chat. They are not right now. Okay, I am going to ask people that have questions to direct their questions in the chat to me on my screen, which is Tommy Knitter. So if you have questions that you would like to have answered right now, please open up your Zoom and address those questions to me. So the first question that we have is from Carrie. Has this been approved? I am under the understanding that all community members have to agree due to use of restrictive covenants in residential developments and what we have written on our land titles. Carrie, I appreciate the question. When it comes to the use of restrictive covenants in residential developments, I am unfamiliar with that. When we talk about approval, this is something that we are continuously hoping to work on. Again, this is Rocky View Schools land. We are trying to balance community input, Rocky View Schools needs, as well as our alumni donors needs. With that being said, I'm going to turn this over to Leslie Ann. Leslie Ann, if you have anything to address, I will read the question one more time. Has this been approved? I am under the understanding that all community members have to agree due to a use of restrictive covenants in residential developments and what we have written on our land titles. Leslie Ann.
Thanks, Tommy. I too am not a lawyer, so I don't really know the answer to that question. I would be very curious as to what you're quoting there, Carrie. So if you could send that to us, and we could actually engage a lawyer or at least get some quick review of the covenant. This is totally unknown to me. I guess at the end of the day, we're not changing the use of this land. We're just making it a safer and more functional facility so that students can play their games and not get hurt. So please send us a copy of that information though. Thanks, Carrie.
Carrie, I believe that you have my email address. So if you can send that information to me, that would be much appreciated. Is there any other additional questions? I'm not having anything pop up right now. If you're brand new to Zoom and you're having difficulty asking, you may unmute yourself, or you may use the raise your hand icon and we can address you.
Raise your hand icon. I unmuted.
So if you go to reactions, you can raise your hand. I'm unfamiliar with who just unmuted themselves. Carrie, was that you?
No, it was Doug.
Doug,
Yes.
can I extend an invitation to you, Doug, to please ask your question? Understand that you are, everyone is going to be hearing you right now, Doug.
Okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you great.
Okay, my question is this. The land between the two schools, the land that you're mentioning, was always community reserve. And I'm wondering, when did that change? Because as a resident here since 1972 on Chiniki Drive, I wasn't aware that the town had changed it. And when did the school board acquire the land?
Thank you for your question, Doug. That is outstanding that you've been a resident here since 1972. To address that question, quite simply, my understanding has been, since we have been involved in this project, that this land is Rocky View Schools land. I have not had any understanding that it is or was owned by the town of Cochrane. We have been proceeding under the guidance from Rocky View Schools that they are owners of that space. Not only are they owners, if this facility is built, they will be the operators of that facility. So they are taking on the maintenance associated with that facility. In terms of a transition from town of Cochrane to Rocky View Schools, I simply cannot speak to that. That is something that we can perhaps maybe ask some individuals to get more information on. But again, my understanding is that this is Rocky View Schools land.
I might also add that I spoke to the Cochrane Planning Department with regard to that. And although I was speaking to one of the junior members there, he assured me that it was still community reserve. Now, whether he's knowledgeable enough to know what the past history of the land was, I'm not sure. But he was quite young. He might even be a summer student, I'm not sure. But to give you some background on it, the restrictive covenant on the titles of all the land on the hill here was assigned because when the lots were developed, the town did not have any bylaws for Cochrane Heights. And so they needed to put something in place. And so they listed the bylaws against each title individually. And that listing cannot be removed only by the people that hold the title. So the town aren't able to take it off. And so it remains on every title up here on this subdivision.
Okay. So again, speaking to that, I can say that we have received we've received the title that Rocky View Schools is the titled landowner of that property. I'm not sure if that addresses your question. Again, that's something that we can follow up. We can certainly follow up with, Doug, but yes, it is our understanding that Rocky View Schools is the titled landholder.
Well, my next question would be then, how could they acquire that land without having the input of all the residents as the title holders to the land here?
Again, that is a very interesting question. That is one that we're going to have to certainly dive into a little bit more. But unfortunately, Doug, I do not have that answer. Again, it is our understanding that Rocky View Schools is the titled landowner, and we have been proceeding as such. We are certainly going to have to look into what you have brought up.
Yes, I'm just bringing these up so that you would have something to look into, because I'm sure, I know my neighbors all feel the same way, that they've never been advised of any change. And the only change that could be made would be by court orders, I understand, the restrictive covenant.
Again, I don't want to speak out of turn, and I appreciate you bringing this up, Doug, but like if Rocky View Schools decides to add on additional portals or make additions to the schools that are in place, I'm unfamiliar if that is a like community input. That is something that we are going to have to look up. And I really appreciate you taking the time tonight and bringing up a great point, Doug. Is there anything else that we can address tonight?
No, I wasn't referring to the addition to the portables. That is on school land, I know that. But the land between the two schools is the piece of land that I'm referring to, and that's the land that you hope to develop.
Thank you very much. We will look into that, Doug. I may reach out to you in the future. If you can perhaps leave your email in the chat, that would be outstanding. Thank you, Doug. We have a few more questions that are rolling in here. Roxanne, you have a great question. So it seems like a huge expenditure for a very small percentage of the student and community members that may benefit from this. I am struggling to see how, as a community member, this would be a benefit to me. Roxanne, thank you for your question. So first off, let me say one of the biggest impacts, first off, is the amount of usable time that we would get from this facility. So as an educator here at the school, there's often times that we don't have a facility to participate in physical activity in. If we have a multi-purpose artificial turf available, suddenly our usage is drastically improved. When it comes to being a huge expenditure, this is really what separates our project and really distinguishes our project. Right now, we have an alumni donor who is willing to look after the majority of this cost. We are hoping at some point to reach out to, we have a meeting scheduled with the town of Cochrane as well as Rocky View County, but we are expecting that we can get this project done without large financial commitments from both Rocky View County and the town of Cochrane. That is something that we have been fully prepared for. So when we talk about a huge expenditure, this is something where our funding is going to be based on alumni donorship, corporate donorship, grant applications, and grassroots fundraising. This is not going to be a situation where it is going to be a taxpayer dollar burden in this community. So I really believe that's what gives our project strength, is that we have an alumni who is willing to step in and make a sizable donation to this project. Roxanne, if there's anything else to address, to add on that question, please put it in the chat. And one last point, please remember that we service 1,800 kids in these 3 schools. Not only that, part of the research that we've been trying to do with having an athletic facility in this area is you're going to see participation in sports for youth in this community improve. You're going to see a reduction in things like childhood obesity, risk for cardiovascular disease because of the availability of an athletic facility. I really think that this is a huge thing for community members. There is an effort to get a facility like this built in Airdrie. This has been an effort for many years. There's also an effort to get a facility like this built in Chestermere currently. Those 2 efforts are really struggling to gain traction and gain financial security. Again, our project is really elevated on a pedestal because we have this $1.2 million commitment from an alumni, which we believe that we can get the entirety of our project funded through alumni donation, corporate donation, grassroots fundraising, and grant writing. Roxanne, if there's anything else to add, please put it in the chat. Jack, I understand that you have your hand up. Jack Vanstone?
Yeah, thanks, Tommy. I just wanted to shed a bit of light on the land use question of Doug's. So I can't speak to the caveat, the restrictive covenant, but I can speak to the land use. So the land use of the land is a public service district. So the land use bylaw describes generally what that is. But it's more or less for publicly owned cultural, educational, institutional, or recreational uses that are operated by the town or on behalf of the federal, provincial, or municipal government. So examples of uses that are allowed in there are educational establishments, obviously, parks, playgrounds, recreational facilities. So I think Leslie Ann alluded to the fact that in terms of fitting into the town's land use bylaw, parks, playgrounds, rec facilities, educational establishments are all part of the permitted uses inside of that bylaw. So hopefully that helps a little bit with some of the technicalese stuff that the planner you spoke with may not have understood fully or been clear about, if that helps.
Thank you very much, Jack. That's an excellent point. I appreciate you bringing that up. We have a question from AJ. AJ asks, is the reason that there will not be a 4-lane track due to space, or is it mainly a funding issue? Would there be any hope of a track in the future? Great question. Thank you very much for asking that, AJ. So basically, as we've gone through this process, I would say there's, two main reasons that at this time, a 4 by 400 meter track is unrealistic for this project. And the first is fundraising. Unfortunately, at that price, the amount that project would cost, we would need a sizable donation from the town of Cochrane as well as the Rocky View County. With some of our meetings with both the Rocky View County and town of Cochrane, we have come to understand that budgets are currently tight due to COVID and due to just facilities in the area right now. So with that being said, we wanted to have a project that we could get completed without relying on large donations from those two sources. We are still hoping to meet with both of those groups. We do have 2 meetings scheduled in the near future, and we expect, we are asking for support still, but we are confident that we can complete the projects that we have proposed without support from those groups. To the part of your question where would there be any hope of a track in the future? So on the image of our designs, we actually have a picture of the way that the field would be input into the actual physical space. Is that if at a further time funding became available, that we could put a 4-lane training facility around the multi-purpose synthetic field. Again, that is a huge restriction right now, just based on unavailability of finances, but there is going to be that option that at least it would fit. The second thing that's sort of impacted this decision is the community input. The community input, those individuals that had concerns over this facility really didn't want a large scale facility that was going to bring a lot of attention and a lot of traffic to this field. So to answer your question, the field will be set in a way that if there's ever a funding in the future to build a 4-lane track, that is an option. Thank you for your question. Really, really good question. If there's any other questions, I'm just going to give a few more minutes for those to roll in. As those roll in, again, I want to thank you guys for joining us today. I'm actually going to pass it over to each one of my team members to just offer any sort of closing remarks or anything that I might have missed in answering these questions. So the very first person I'm going to introduce is Esther Sieben. And again, thank you for joining us. If you have any questions, please bring those questions into the chat and I will get those answered. Esther.
I would just like to thank you guys for tuning in today. I know life is hectic, and I guess it's all about possibilities and hope. And we want to remember that the physical literacy of our community is important, and the amount of time that we can be spending on a field as opposed to a synthetic turf and track as opposed to a football field, it's important. And we have to remember that everything we do is student-centered. Our students and our athletes and our leaders and futures of tomorrow are always at the focus of everything we discuss. So thank you very much for your time, and keep those kids physically literate.
Much, Esther. I'm going to move it over to Tracy.
Thanks. And I think when we were listening to Tommy and how he was talking about, and the question that was brought up about how this facility will be a benefit to all students and the residents, surrounding residents, I think too, sometimes when we think about a field, we think about just sports. We have to also remember that we are a part of a team, and it's a tri-school site. So we do have little kids from kindergarten all the way to grade 8 before they even get into our school. And this opportunity through this multi-purpose facility is going to bring those different groups of people together, those students together. So it's about an outdoor classroom. So we get to expand and be out of our building and be outside on this field that's going to provide for all of us, I guess. And what that looks like in terms besides the fact of the physical literacy piece. But I think one of the biggest pieces we need to remember is the social emotional piece as well, the mental wellness of our community, of our students, and being outdoors and being able to interact with other students at different levels is going to really, I guess, grow the possibilities of what those connections can be among the tri-school site. And we're really mindful of that, and we really want to grow that. So we really don't have all the answers right now, but we certainly have the opportunity to look past and see what's available. So I think we need to pay attention to that. And I think what Fiona mentioned too about just being good neighbors, that's what we want to do. We just want to be good neighbors.
Very much. Tracy, I'm going to move it over to Leslie Ann.
I would like just to add 2 points to clarify on something. The field is the first project that's being done. And if there's enough funding, we'll be adding the 4 lanes and the 8 lanes. And that field will be set up for all sports: football, soccer, rugby, ultimate frisbee, and lacrosse could train on there as well. So that's important to understand, that it is a phasing based on financing. And the second thing is this field will be utilized during the day by the students, 1,800 of them that need physical activity and definitely need to be outside, especially during COVID times. But there's also the community will have access to the field and to the track when it's not being booked by a group. And that's a huge advantage to anybody who lives in the area. They can actually go out there and safely throw a football around or train on a track. So I think it's a great advantage to anybody who lives in the neighborhood to be able to do that. There will be other people on it who have paid for it. They're going to get priority. But when it's not being used, you'll still be able to run and throw and kick and all those fun things out there. So it's still a field. The use is not changing. It's just being enhanced, and it's being made safer for everybody. Thank you for
talked about charging people to use that field, have they?
Background of Doug's computer. Doug, is there a question that you have?
No.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I sincerely, I thank my team members. We're also being supported by the amazing tech crew here at Cochrane High School. Thank you guys very much for your services. And again, I haven't seen any questions come through. If you do have additional questions at this time, many of you guys have my email. You may also submit a response through our website, cochranefieldandtrack.ca. This presentation will be available. We will upload it onto our timeline on the website under community engagement. And again, I just want to say thank you guys so much for taking the time to join us today and express our concerns. Remember that we are teachers, we are educators, and we are here to build something, and we want to be the best neighbors that we possibly can. So I really appreciate the time that you've taken to address your concerns and to point things out that we may have missed. So I thank you very much. Again, if you have any additional questions or comments, please head to the website. Thank you very much for joining us today. Be well.